Imagine this. You finally got into the PhD program of your dream. In fact, you've gotten into many of them. Congratulations, the stress of worrying about whether or not you get in is over. But now, it's replaced with the stress of something else. Which program do you decide? Hey everyone, it's Juan. I'd like to focus today's episodes on some tips to help you decide between grad programs. On top of that, I'll be giving some pointers and tips on what to look out for and what to do during visit day to help you obtain that information. So it depends on your PhD program, but around admissions time, you'll get a chance to visit the department and the campus. Sometimes it's after your acceptance, and sometimes it's during your interview. For most people, it's the one and only time you actually get to visit the department and campus and talk to staff and other grad students. So if it's a school that you're considering, you should definitely take advantage of it. So what are some things to keep in mind when deciding between programs, and how does visit day help with that? By the way, in some programs, you're admitted directly with an advisor, and other times you have to do rotations, and then you decide a lab later. That doesn't change my advice too much. But basically, when I say things like, ask your advisor this, or ask your potential lab mates this, just do that for every single lab that you might be potentially interested in working with. By the way, things I'm about to say are in no particular order. It really depends on your personal preference. That being said, the first thing I'm about to say should probably be pretty high on your list. That first thing is research alignment. After all, you're entering PhD to do research. You should be excited about the research you're about to do. Basically, ask yourself if the lab is doing research that you might potentially be interested in. Luckily, this is a relatively easy thing to find out. One way is to look at the lab website. You probably will have a section on the research that they're doing. And of course, you can also read the past publications. And around visit day, you should definitely ask the PI or advisor or the head of the lab what sort of research projects they have in mind. Number 2 on the list of things to keep in mind, the advisor and lab culture. So you know the saying, apply for their team, not the company? Well, that same thing applies to grad school as well. There's no point in going to an elite university if you hate working with your lab and advisor. So some things you may want to consider. How frequently does the advisor meet with the students? Are they group meetings or one-on-one? Does the advisor travel or work a lot? Or are they oftentimes in the lab? What role does the advisor play? I've known advisors that regularly code with the students. Does the advisor have some sort of reputation, good or bad? You might want to be aware of some of these factors. Of course, all these things are super important, but unfortunately, this is actually one of the hardest things to figure out. And unfortunately, visit day is the only way you might get some of this information. One rough trick that you can use is that senior tenured professors tend to be more hands-off with their lab, whereas more junior professors would tend to be more hands-on with them. Of course, this is not always the case, so keep that in mind. The best way to get this information, of course, is to ask the people in the lab that you're interested in. Hopefully they'll end up being honest with you. And if you've developed a skill of reading body language, this is the time to use it. Pro tip, it's best if you actually find a student who is about to graduate or just graduated from the lab. They'll tend to talk more freely about their opinions. Another way is to ask students not in the lab. You can go up and ask something like, hey, I'm interested in working in Professor X's lab. What have you heard about the professor? They've probably heard stories. Grad students love gossip. Of course, the more people you ask, the more of an accurate picture you're likely to get. Number 3 on the list of things to consider. This was pretty similar to the previous one, and that's the culture of the grad department as a whole. Again, the only real way is to talk to other grad students. Hope that they're being honest, but know that they might be sugarcoating just a little bit. So one thing I will caution you is that the environment you see and witness during visit day might not be reflective of the day-to-day environment. Visit day is a special event, even for current grad students. The department will go out of its way to make it special, having stuff like dinners and open bars, etc. Oftentimes, grad students really look forward to this because it's a day to celebrate. Just keep in mind that visit day is a special event for grad students just as much as it's a special event for you. Number 4, location. This basically encompasses everything like food options, weather, housing, stuff like that. Anything location-wise for which you have a preference should fall into this category. Number 5, department and logistical stuff. Some things you might want to consider are what's the process for graduating, what's the requirements, and what's the general timeline. If you're interested in the class requirements and whether or not you can use some classes that you used in master's or undergrad to waiver out. Perhaps you like a school where you do rotations before you settle in a lab versus one where you get directly accepted into a lab. A big thing you might want to consider, and one that you should definitely ask during visit day, is does the program that you're applying to give you a master's along the way? I've known programs where even if you end early, you don't actually leave with the master's. Those are the 5 categories that I would consider when looking at grad schools. By no means is this exhaustive, and of course, it depends on your personal preference. It's just meant to get you thinking about what stuff you might want to value when looking at grad schools. So final tips before I leave, I highly suggest you make a list of things that you care about and that you do this before any visit days happen. That way you know what to look forward to and what to ask. And while you're there, definitely ask for contact information from other grad students and faculty so that you can follow up if you have any questions. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback, as well as personal experiences in the comments. Take care, everybody. See you around.